Lesson 2.4, we're going to talk about multiplying fractions and mixed numbers. We're in your notes packet on pages 8 and 9 for today. Starting on page 8, when we talk about multiplying fractions, we do not need to have common denominators, and in fact, that would just make it way more complicated for you. Instead, what we're going to be doing is simplifying up and down on the diagonal, and then we're going to be multiplying straight across. So straight across your two numerators, straight across your two denominators. So in question number 1, we always check up and down, and on our diagonals to see if there's any common factors that we can reduce in this case. Here we don't have any, so we're going to just multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 3 is 6. So we get 1/6. For question number 2, check 3/4 can't be reduced, 5/7 can't be reduced. 3 and 7 have nothing in common, 5 and 4. So we're going to multiply straight across. 3 times 5 is 15, over 4 times 7 is 28. Take a look at question number 3. We have 2/5 times 4. 4 is a whole number, which we can also write as 4 over 1. We can't reduce anything on the diagonals, so we'll multiply straight across. 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 1 is 5. I know it's kind of weird, but like I said, we are trying to get used to writing our answers as improper fractions, so we're going to leave this as 8/5. I'm going to have you go ahead, try question number 4. I'm going to have you type in your answer. I would prefer you leave it just as an improper fraction. It's a little bit easier to type in. So 2 over 1, 2 times 7 is 14, 1 times 9 is 9. So 14/9 would be acceptable. If you also typed in 1 and 5/9, that would be fine too. Question number 5. Here we finally have one where we can actually do some reducing. You can check up and down. I always personally check the diagonals first. I don't know why. 5 and 15 have a common factor of 5. So if I divide 5 by 5, I get 1. If I divide 15 by 5, I get 3. On the other diagonal, they have a common factor of 11. Divide by 11, I get 1. Divide by 11, I get 2. Multiply straight across. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. The nice part about multiplying is if you miss one of these cancellations, your answer is just not going to be reduced. So the reason that we cancel is so that we can work with smaller numbers. Go ahead, we're going to look at number 6 here. 15 and 25 both have factors of 5, so that goes in 3 times, and it would go in 5 times there. 8 and 24 have factors of 8, so 8 goes into 8 once, goes into 24 3 times. Notice now I have a 3 over a 3. Those can actually reduce because 3 over 3 is just one whole. They have a common factor of 1. 1 times 1 is 1, over 1 times 5 is 5. Had we not seen that, our answer would have just been 3 over 15, and we would have had to reduce it down. Question number 7 is a word problem. Mr. Thompson wants to teach Joe, his daughter, how to ride a bike. They cover 1/3 of a mile on the first day. If they ride 3.5 times the distance the next day, how many miles did Joe ride on the second day? 3.5 times the distance. So we're looking to do 3/2 times 1/3. I'm going to have you go ahead and figure out the answer to this one. So if you reduce the 3's, you get 1/2, and I hope you included the label of mile. Question number 8, Olivia bought 1/3 pounds of oranges at the farmer's market. She used half of the quantity to make a glass of juice. How many pounds of oranges did she use? Of in math tells us to multiply. So she's doing 1/2 times 8/3. 2 and 8 have 2 as a common factor. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. So we have 4/3 pounds of oranges. So on our next page then, we're going to also talk today about multiplying mixed numbers. The only thing that changes with mixed numbers is that you have to first make them improper fractions, and then all we do is look to reduce on the up and down or on the diagonal, and then we multiply straight across. So my first fraction, remember how to turn these into improper. You multiply and then add. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9/4, times 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8/5. And then you want to go ahead and multiply across and check to see if there's anything you can reduce. I see the 4 and the 8. They have a common factor of 4. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 times 5 is 5. So 18/5 is a great answer here. You can change it to 3 3/5 if you prefer, but I'd prefer you start getting into the habit of leaving it improper. Go ahead, take a look at question number 2. I'm going to have you actually type in what your improper fractions are, and then I'm going to also ask you for your answer. So for your improper fraction on the first one, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3 halves. And then this one does not have an improper fraction to make, but you do actually have a cancellation that you can do, and that will give you 6/5 for your final answer, or 1 1/5. Take a look at question number 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16/5. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11/4. So we're going to go ahead and look at this. We can reduce with the 4 and the 16. And that's about all that I see here. So this is going to be 44/5 then, which is improper, but it's reduced. Question number 4. 4 1/2 is going to be 9 halves. 9, 10 ninths. Reduce. Reduce. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 1 is 1. So we'll actually just write that as a whole number 5. What would happen to my answer if this 1 1/9 was actually a negative number? Alrighty. Moving on to question number 5 here. We're going to actually skip this one. Numbers turn out to be really yucky to try and do without calculators, so not really something that we need to worry about here. For question number 6, we do have 2 negatives involved, so a negative times a negative is going to give us a positive answer here. But we are still going to follow the same process. We are going to make these improper. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 is 8. Both of them are negative, and reduce, reduce, and we're going to end up with a positive 4. It's a pretty easy one there. Question number 7. If it takes 1 minute for a faucet to fill 1.5 gallons of water in a bucket, how much water can be filled in 2 3/4 minutes? So this is 1 minute, and we're going to do it for this long. So we're going to multiply here. So we're going to have 1.5 times 2 3/4. I'm going to have you go ahead, turn these to improper fractions, and then go ahead and get us an answer. For this one, because it is real world, we'll want to put our answer into a mixed number, and we'll also want to include a label. So to go through and make these, we're going to change the first one to 3 halves. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11/4. And then we're going to go ahead, and there's nothing we can do to reduce, but we should check. 33/8. And because it is real world, we're going to switch this over then. 33 divided by 8 is 4 whole. 4 times 8 is 32, so that leaves 1/8. And then gallons would be our answer. So we could also put gallons of water, but gallons is fine. Question number 8 then. The study table that Molly bought for her kids was 3 1/3 feet long. The large dining table that she purchased was 2 3/4 times as long as the study table. What was the length of the dining table? So we're going to do 2 3/4 times the length of the study table. Change these both to improper fractions. 4 times 2 is 8, 11/4. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10/3. Reduce. 11 times 5 is 55. 2 times 3 is 6. And because, again, this is a real world scenario, we want to go ahead and change this over. 6 goes in 9 whole times, and that's 6 times 9 is 54. So there's 1 remaining with the denominator of 6. And then we need to add the label of feet because that's the final piece with a real world example. That wraps up lesson 2.4 then, with multiplying mixed numbers and regular fractions. And your practice packet is ready for you then as well.